Hello. Thank God it's Friday. Today is another Friday at the month of June. Yes, you're welcome to another Friday on the IBM TV and the show Mind Closet 101. You're welcome. If you check your time, it's 6:30 a.m. Mm, yeah, it's also 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and it's also 3 p.m. Central Africa time. And in Nigeria here, it's already 2 p.m. You're welcome to this show. And today is going to be exciting, educative, and also we'll be learning a lot. But I want to start the show with a story, normal African story. Every time I come on the show, I must give you an African story because actually it's part of our culture. So this story is about the hunter and his friends. So many years ago, there's a Calabar hunter called Effion who lived in the bush, killed plenty of animals, and made so much money. Everyone in its country knew him, and one of his best friends was a man called Okun, who lived near him. But Effion was very extravagant and spent much money in eating and drinking with everyone. Until at last he became quite poor, so he had to go out hunting again. But now his good luck seemed to have deserted him, for although he worked hard and hunted day and night, he could not succeed in killing anything. One day, as he was very hungry, he went to his friend Okun and borrowed 200 rods from him and told him to come to his house on a certain day to get his money. And he told him to bring his gun loaded with him. Now, sometime before Okun had made friends, sometime before this, Okun has made friends with a leopard and a bush cat whom he has met in the forest while one of his hunting expeditions. And he had also made friends with a goat, a cock at a farm where he had stayed for the night. But though Effion had borrowed the money from Okun, he could not think how he was to repay him. It was on the day he had promised. He could not think how he could repay him on the day he had promised. At last, however, he thought of a plan. And on the next day, he went to his friend, the leopard, and asked him to lend him 200 rods, promising to return the money to him on the same day, as promised to Okun. And he also told the leopard that if he was absent when he came for his money, he could kill anything he saw in the house and eat it. The leopard was then to wait until the hunter arrived. All right. So we're still on the story. When Okay, and the hunter agreed to. So the hunter went to his friend the goat and borrowed 200 rods from him. In the same way, Effion also went to his friend the bush cat and the cock and borrowed 200 rods from each of them on the same conditions, and told each of them that if they were absent, if he was absent when they arrived, they could kill and eat anything they found about the place. When the appointed day arrived, the hunter spread some corn on the ground and then went away and left the house deserted. Very early in the morning, soon after he had begun to crow, the cock remembered what the hunter had told him and walked over to the hunter's house, but found no one there. On looking around, however, he saw some corn on the ground and being hungry, he commenced to eat. After this time, the bush cat also arrived, and not finding the hunter at home, he too looked about, and soon espied the cock who was busy picking up the grains of the corn. So the bush cat up, sorry, went up softly behind and pounced on the cock and killed him at once and began to eat him. By this time, the goat had come for his money, but not finding his friend, he walked about until he came upon the bush cat, who was intent upon his meal off the cock, that he did not notice the goat approaching, and the goat, rather being in a bad temper, hit the bushmeat, knocked him over, butt him with his horns. This the bush cat did not like at all. So he was not big enough to fight the goat. He picked up the remains of the cock and ran off with it to the bush. So lost his money. As he did not await the arrival of the hunter, the goat was thus left master of this situation and started beating. This noise attracted attention of the leopard, who was on his way to receive his payment from the hunter. As he got nearer, the smell of the goat, because very strong, and being hungry, he had he had nothing to eat for some time. He approached the goat very carefully, not saying anyone about. He staked the goat and got nearer and nearer and got nearer and nearer. Yeah, sorry. Then pounced on the goat. So in the meantime, gazing quietly, quite unsuspicious of any danger, he was he was in his friend's the hunter's compound. Now he could say bah, but most of the time he was busy eating grass and picked up the leaves which had fallen from a tree of which he was very fond of. Suddenly the leopard sprang at the goat and with one crunch at the neck, down brought him down, and the goat was dead at once, and the leopard started on his meal. It was now 8 o'clock in the morning, and Okon, his hunter friend, had his early morning meal, went out with his gun to receive payment of 200 rods he had lent to the hunter. When he got close to the house, he heard a crunchy sound, and being a hunter himself, he approached very cautiously, yes, and looked over the fence, saw the leopard only a few yards off, busy engaging eating the goat. He took careful aim at the leopard and fired, whereupon the leopard rolled over dead. Now, the death of the leopard meant that four of the hunter's creditors were now disposed of, as the bush cat killed the cock and the goat had driven the bush cat away, who thus forfeited his claim, and in return, the goat was killed by the leopard, who had been slain by Okun. This meant a saving of 800 rods for Ephraim. But he was not contented with this, and directly he had the report of the gun, and he ran out from where he had been hiding all the time and found the leopard lying dead with Okun standing over it. Then, in strong language, Ephion began to upbraid his friend and asked him why he killed his old friend the leopard, and nothing could satisfy him but that he should report the whole matter to the king, who who could no doubt deal with him as he thought fit. When Akon said this, Akon's friend was frightened and begged him not to say anything about the matter. Yeah, almost done with it. I refused to, but Okon refused to listen to him. And at last, Okon said, if you will allow the whole thing to drop and will not say anything about it, I will present you, I will make you a present of 200 rods you borrowed from me. This was just what Ephraim wanted, but still he did not give in at once. Eventually, however, he agreed and told Okon he might go and that he could bury the body of his friend the leopard. Directly, Okon has gone. Instead of burying the body, Ephraim dragged it inside the house and skinned it very carefully. The skin he put on the dry, he put out to dry in the sun and covered with wood ash, and the body he ate it. While the skin was well cured, the hunter took it to a distant market where he sold it for so much money. And now, whenever a bush cat sees a cock, he always kills it, and does so by right. And he takes the cock in payment of the 200 which the hunter never paid. So that is our story for today. And The moral lesson is never lend money to people, because if they cannot pay, they will try to kill you or get rid of you in the same way, either poisoning or by setting a charm on you. This opens the floor for Mind Closet 101. You're welcome again. Today I'm having special guest. Two were here before, were on the show last week, but we still have a new guest. Actually, he's an American chess master, a chess administrator, chess tournament organizer, chess book publisher. He holds the title of Feudal Master. He's best known for the books Chess for Dummies, being produced in 1996, Chess Player Bible in 2004, both of which has been, through several editions, has been translated into 8 languages. He was a member of the policy board of the United States Chess Federation from 1996 to 1999. He has served as an American zone president for FIDEL, the World Chess Federation, from 2000 to 2002, and was a trustee of the U.S. Chess Trust from 2000 to 2019, as well as the past president. He is also the past president of CalChess, the Northern California Chess Association, the Coty Chess for Youth Foundation, and also he's a chess journalist of America. And as well, a former chairman of the Chess Advisory Board, UT Dallas. He is a former editor and publisher of both CalChess Journal and the Golden Gate Chess News, and was awarded Chess Educator for the year 2016 in Dallas. In 2018, the USCF recognized Mr. Ed with the award of Outstanding Achievement. In 2019, he started Ed Foundation, which enhanced chess literacy and chess excellence. He's the chairman and COO of Ed Foundation, and he's also a host of Chess Without Borders on IBM TV. Residing at California, let's welcome Mr. Jim Ed. Hello, Jim.
Hello. So happy to be on your show. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. It's an honor to have you on my show.
Well, I just was amazed at how you explained my career in chess, because I was sitting back and oh yeah, I did that. Oh yeah, I did that.
I understand. It's good to have you on the show. How was your morning? How was your night?
My morning so far is very early.
yeah, I know.
I have my coffee.
Yeah, good. Good to have you. Good to have you on the show. Good to have you on the show. All right. Introducing another guest is a potent conference speaker, trainer, brand and management consultant, poet, storyteller, life coach, and a pastor. He speaks English and Yoruba fluently. He is a lead pastor of Commonwealth of Grace International Ministry, Lagos. And from Lagos, the capital of West Africa, his name is Pastor Kenny Adenuba. I think he's okay. And okay, he'll soon be here. But meanwhile, we have, he's a licensed clinical social worker, competence coach, a teacher, social reformer, a therapist, zonal coordinator at Community Intervention Network on Drugs Southwest, former advocacy and training coordinator for Freedom Foundation, Nigeria, founder and president of Discovery and Empowerment Initiative Nigeria. His core services, advocacy, developmental assessment, general assessment, business coach, life coach, is a consultant. He does workshops, corporate workshops, general counselor, is a therapist as well, and a social worker. He speaks Yoruba and English fluently, resides in West Africa's most populous and ancient city called Ibadan, Oyo State. His name is Olusegun Samuel Kayode. And yes, it's online now. Hi, Samuel.
How are you? How's everybody?
Good. Good to see you.
Yes, it's
Good to
great to
see
meet
you.
you.
Yeah. Well, today we're having Jim, and Jim is actually a chess master. He's the founder of Ed Foundation. They teach chess. They try to make you understand chess. And actually, his record on the chess is top notch. So he's a pro, not he's a pro. It's like he's a pro. No, he's a pro. So in case you want to learn chess, I advise you to meet Jim, and he will teach you more about chess. And also he has a show on IBM TV, Chess Without Borders. So it's good to have both of you on the show.
Yes.
Welcome.
And I'm also the CEO of the EAT Foundation. And there's two things I wanted to say about what we're doing is providing chess equipment to anyone who cannot afford it themselves. And we're sending chess equipment right now to an orphanage in Uganda. And also the youth program in Zambia was all about football, soccer in American terms. And so now they wanted to branch out to chess. So we've supplied them with chess sets and boards and equipment so that they can start up a youth program in Zambia. So,
go on.
Well, I was just going to say that this is part of the mission that I started the foundation for, is to be able to provide it, because the show is called Chess Without Borders, and we don't care where you're from. Borders are just lines on a map. And if you want to play chess, we'll help you play.
Good. Welcome, sir.
Okay.
And I'm still working on that's making you have some fans here in Nigeria. Like we talked earlier on Podcast Thursday, I told you I was going to work on that and see if we could get something like this in Nigeria.
Yes, I'm very excited about that.
Thank you, sir. Welcome to My Closet 101. On this show, we have this slogan: if you're perfect, be the first to cast a stone, judge not and you shall not be judged. My Closet 101 is a life coaching show that gives people the platform to ask questions. They have been locked in the closet of their mind. Also, one of the avenue for people, the one-on-one avenue for people to freely interact, express their inner thoughts without being judged, where everyone can learn different experiences, opinions, not only permitted to talk about victory, success, but also about failures, mistakes, and burdens. And to our audience watching us live, please feel free to send us your questions on the topic, because today we're talking about the game Suicide. We're still continuing that topic, but also we're still going to talk about impression that causes depression. Yes, that's two topics together. So feel free to send your questions, your contributions, your experiences, and also like our Facebook page, My Closet 101 on our Facebook. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and also on Twitter, Branwachi Melo, and also on IBM TV YouTube channel. You could drop your questions as well. And don't forget to click on the subscribe button on the YouTube channel. And for the audience too, this is part of to tell you thank you for listening. I would like you to please go to our website, IBM TV, click on the green button and register on family.dollarstore.com. In case you don't know, you just go to family.dollarstore.com. You'll see it on the screen very soon. If you register on that website, send me a proof that you've registered, and for that, we'll send you free coupons for you to be able to shop on Dollar Store, especially for those in America. Please don't forget to do that. And why I'm talking about Dollar Store is because Family Dollar Store is the best place to shop for your money. There are three things it guarantees you. One, it is delivered to your door for free and keep you safe from COVID-19. It's also affordable. Their products, their goods are also affordable than other online stores, is a guarantee. Please check for yourself. You see the reason why. Then thirdly, it's anything you're looking for is available at the Dollar Store, affordable. and I call it Your Personal Store. So, welcome once again to Mind Closer 101. Before we start the show, I'd like to say WHO says 800 persons approximately die from suicide globally each year, one death every 40 seconds. 2% of the global median of health budget is allocated to mental health in 2017. Now, according to WHO, about 5,000 to 15,000 people die by suicide every year, with an estimated global rate of 10.5 per 100,000 population, down to 11.6% in 2018. Now, the most suicide country in the entire world is Greenland, after its last decade transformation from remote colony to welfare state. A male to female Southeast Asia region is the greatest contributor to the absolute number of suicide deaths. Europe is most suicidal region in the world, while Eastern Mediterranean is the least. Now, we have on the show, yes, I've introduced him before, yes, Mr. Samuel. Samuel.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Last week we talked about committing suicide, what is most likely for people, who is most likely to commit suicide. We also talked the warning signs of someone having suicidal thoughts and that. So today, while we were talking last week, you talked about coping skills. Like when I talked about what happened to me in Lagos, having an issue that almost made me to want to commit suicide. And you said something like having coping skills, that I had these coping skills to be able to handle such pressure. And I know somebody in the audience, some people will be wondering, what's this coping skill all about? Can you talk more? And can you educate people on how to learn how to learn these coping skills and be able to handle them, to use them, yes, to use them in situations like that, if it arises.
Okay. Coping skill, like someone once said that I should just bring it down, no much big English, are just ways we handle situations that is not friendly or that might cause harm to us. And so when we go into coping skill, we can look at chess as an example. So what can you do that gives you joy? Some people love chess. And so by the time you start playing chess, like for my wife, she's, she just developed the love for chess. And if she's under pressure, she just picks up her laptop and starts playing the online chess. For me, my own is music. And there's a particular genre of music, especially the ones that does a lot of instrumentals. Especially strings music. So that's a coping skill. Some people, it might be football. Some people, it might be, dancing. Some people is gisting. Some people is reading books. Some people is watching movie. But anything you do that helps you, that move your mind from your worries to something else or something productive or a way forward out of your challenges, that's coping skill. And some people's coping skill can also be talk to a therapist. So we have different ways we cope. Now we have both the positive and the negative coping skills. Okay. Now we've talked about it. Some people also go to the negative coping skills by taking drugs.
Whoa, yeah.
Yes, yeah. A lot of people. I've had a lot of my, old clients have to do drugs just to escape certain pains, just to escape certain challenges, just to escape certain pressure of life. So they do drugs. Now, the question I always pose to them is, if you do drugs, will it take away your pains? They say, well, for the moment, yes. But after the moment, one funny thing that I've gotten from most of them is after that moment, it's more like there is a multiplier effect.
Yes.
So it increases.
Yes.
Because now you start thinking of, where do I raise money to buy other drugs? Why I don't want this person to see me because I'm doing drugs. What will my children say, or what will my family say? What will people who respect or are looking up to me as a role model say? So, again, now it has multiplied the sorrow, like the scripture says. So that's a negative one. Some people do other, negative things. Some people watch porn, do a lot of bad stuff. Yes. So
it's a negative
there's
coping.
we have both the positive and the negative side of it. So anything, the summary of it is anything you do that helps you overcome your pressure, your challenges, your pains, your worries, your shame, in order for you to be able to move to the next level of finding solution, then that is a coping skill.
That is wonderful. And you described it very well, the negative spiral downwards, the multiplier effect that you mentioned. Because I work with people who have various types of what we call in the United States mental illness, and mostly it's depression, and also it's a bipolar, where they go from a manic stage where they're very hyperactive to a very depressed stage. And so often they self-medicate with drugs, with alcohol, with something else, to give them temporary escape from what they think is an inescapable sorrow. But there are other options. There are other ways to cope with your sorrow. And I have found that it's a spiritual solution. It's a spiritual path that if you can lead them to find their own path, then they can find those coping skills. And the coping skills are different, as you said, from one person to another. And there's no one answer that fits all, but everybody can develop their own coping skills.
True. I also forgot, I left that most important part, the spiritual part of it. Because for every human being, you believe in a deity. Well, we have some people that are agnostic, but majority of people believe that there's an higher authority that they can relate with. That is equally a very good coping skill.
Sure. Thank you for that. I love the way you just digested that particular question. And sir, what do you think parents spirituality or religion tied to lower suicide risk in children?
It depends. The truth is, it depends. We have children that are strong-willed, that will not just follow what the parent wants. We have children who just want to explore. I mean, I've seen a situation where the father was a clergy before he died, but while he was alive, the son decided to go into, the traditional worship. Now, I just want to give it a try. So we have situations like that. And also there are situations where the parents' faith, their belief, their connection to higher authority or a deity also affects the children. Now, all these differ from, permit me to use, region to region, and from side or country to country. What is applicable in Nigeria will not be applicable in America. And what is applicable in Nigeria may not work in Kenya. So again, we have to look at that. Then we also need to look at the dynamics of parenting. Because also, when we look at the parenting style of some people are just, passive parents. Whatever you want to do, you do it. While some parents are authoritarian. You cannot live in my house, eat my food, and want to do what you want to do. When you step out of my house, you are free to do that. There are some parents like that. So in some situation, it works to help some children not to go into suicide. In some situation, it will not work in a way that the children sees their parent as living a double life or living fake life. They have a particular face in spirituality, and then outside of their worship center, they are someone else entirely. So when they look at their parents, I don't want to be like my dad. I don't want to be like my mom, who is faking it. So they would rather go to a place or to a religion that they believe is not what their parents. And in this situation, it might just be the parent's personality or way of life, not the religion. So, we have to also look at that particular side too. So we have, yes, it has impression on the children. Yes, it does not. So, but we have to balance it. And in some situation, it's neither positive or negative. It's just in between.
Dream, do you have anything to say?
Yes, because it sounds like there's some universal things here, and as Samuel said, some things that work in Nigeria won't work in the United States, and vice versa. But there are some universal things that we're talking about. Parental pressure on children. Sometimes the pressure can be so intense that the child thinks that there's no way out, and they turn towards suicidal thoughts. And other times the parental support lifts them up. So if they have some struggles, their parental support can help them cope with it. So the parental support could be a coping mechanism or a pressure mechanism that pushes them to a place of sorrow. And these struggles are, I think, universal. And in the United States, we have also the problem of divorce. So children are being raised in split family homes, and this also creates a lot of difficulties for some. But as you say, some are strong-willed and are not impacted negatively by this, and some are coping. And some parents, even though the divorced, are very good at still supporting their children. Others, it's very acrimonious, very harsh environment, and it is very disruptive for the child. So we have these situations in the United States that is causing an increase in suicide, teenage suicide, because there's also, which I think is probably a more universal or not, there's just teenage angst. You get to a point and you don't know yet who you are, who you're going to be, and you have these trouble fitting in. Who do I want to fit in with? This class over here or this clique over here. And so this is a common problem in the United States where people don't know where they fit and they don't know where they belong. And so sometimes if they're not accepted in one place or another, they can be feeling alone. And this is one of the things that it's common when I work with people who have suicidal thoughts, they feel alone. And so bringing them into a community, some kind of community, whether it's a church, a synagogue, a temple, it's got to be some sort of community that they can fit in and belong and have that sense of belonging. And this is one of the greatest tools we have to take them away from these suicidal, destructive thoughts, in my experience.
Okay, Jim, let me ask you this personal question. I'm very sorry. I hope you won't be offended. In life, you've done so well. You've done so well. You've achieved a lot. In your lifetime, during this period of this peak of success, did you, in one time, get depressed because of that? And did you think of committing suicide in any time?
Oh, it's an excellent question, and I'm happy to answer it. Absolutely. One of the things that was my lifelong attraction to chess was when I was going through this period of not fitting in as a teenager, there were chess tournaments, and I just happened to be good at it. And so I was around older men who, and I didn't know either one of my grandparents, and so they were filling that role of they were somebody to talk to who could give me some sort of clue as to what was going on in the world around me. So the chaos that I felt around me started to make a little more sense. So it's very important to me. It was one of those things that was more than just a coping mechanism. It was a way of me finding my place in the world. And then later on, I achieved a lot of success. You know, I wore a suit and tie to my job. I was highly compensated at the job. I drove a nice car. I lived in a great neighborhood in San Francisco. All of these things on the outside looking in, you would say success. But inside, I was a mess. I was not a happy person. And I'm going back to the 1980s now, where I would think of suicidal thoughts probably every day. And it wasn't until I found a spiritual path for myself that I thought that I belonged in the world, I belonged in the universe. I was here, there was a purpose for my presence. And when I had that mindset instead of the old mindset, where again, I just did not know, people were telling me I was successful and I didn't feel successful. But when I found a purpose in life, which is to ease the pain and suffering of others, whether it's by giving them a coping skill of chess, which is what I'm good at, so that's what I use mostly, but also just someone to listen to. Someone, they can tell me what they're going through, and I can relate to them, and they don't feel alone. And this became my purpose, to talk to people, to other people who are suffering in the ways that I could understand and could relate to, and help them develop these coping mechanisms that Samuel was talking about, and get them through the dark places and into the light. And this to me turned my life around. When I found that calling, it made all the difference in the world. And I haven't had a thought of suicide since the 1980s.
Wow, that's nice, wonderful to hear. Now, Samuel, if you heard what James said he used spirituality to overcome. Now, can you talk about it medically?
For every human being,
there
are times you just feel empty. There are situations you just feel empty. You are not achieving. In the Maslow hierarchy needs, you have the self-actualizers. And at that stage, everybody will feel you have arrived. But internally, some people just feel I'm worthless. I'm not there yet. For so many reasons. One, an individual might be into the wrong vocation or wrong job or wrong relationship or wrong situation, just not in the right thing. I heard the story of a footballer that I don't want to mention his name, who said, I played football not because I love football, but because of the money. Now, this guy was playing well. He was one of as at that point, he was the highest paid African footballer. But he was not playing football because of the dream. His name is nowhere to be found.
I understand.
Nobody knows him anymore. Nobody heard about him. But there's a man who was playing football because he loved football. His name is JJ Okocha.
Yes, JJ.
You see me about the money. In fact, his last match with Nigeria at the National Stadium in Lagos scored. He was the one that scored that match, that goal.
Yeah, I remember.
And at the end, they asked him,
No, he was on a roll, and we're just having a little glitch.
Interviewer.
Yeah.
We learned you had psychologists in the team. Was it that the psychologist
network?
You just have to be patient.
Really have to be patient.
Yeah, it's tough.
Really tough.
He said the best psychologist man can have is himself.
Samuel, you're breaking up.
Where are we going to?
There you go.
Most times we have this, we get to a point in scientific, we may internally know this, answer these questions. Is it clear now?
Yes.
Yes.
Much better.
Yes.
Much better.
Go ahead.
Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Very clear. Yeah.
All right. So, all right. Now, if a person, okay, you can come in because the renting, it takes you from a realm to another realm where you know that you are not an accidental discharge, that I will always say. You are not here by mistake. There is a purpose for your life. And whether you like it or not, lives are connected to yours. So you cannot afford to fail. Even science also will take from that part that for every human being, there are lives connected to your life. So when you fail, other people are failing. Now look at the number of people. A research once said, directly or indirectly, there are 10,000 lives connected to my life, your life, every other person's life. Now, let's do the calculation, 10,000 multiplied by 10,000. So if you fail, check the number of people that will fail. If you succeed, check the number of people that will succeed. So when spirituality is there, in social science, it's called psychosocial support. When the spiritual side is there, you help the person through the journey of spiritual and inner cleansing and identity, identification. So you get to know who you are, what you are supposed to do, and your spiritual leaders begin to teach you step by step, especially counselors, spirituality counselors, take you step by step what you need to do spiritually. So you get to that level where you are no longer confused, but you become also a role model and a support to other people. So the role of spirituality cannot be overemphasized and cannot be underestimated.
Wow.
Because so many times, even where science fails. So where science fails, spirituality has been not to have failed with research.
Thank you. So
I believe,
yes,
excuse me. I was just going to say that I believe that if you follow your passion, you cannot fail.
True.
Yes.
And one of my difficulties when I'm trying to counsel others is that they will tell to me that I have no passion or I have not found my passion. So maybe Samuel, you could help me with an answer for that situation when they say I have no passion to follow.
Samuel, did you hear him?
Follow what?
Follow passion.
Spirituality,
that's passion.
Or
no passion in anything.
Passion.
Yes, passion in life. That's passion in anything. Like sports, jobs.
There are two things. One is, like, I will go back to one that I've mentioned, which is identity crisis. A lot of people don't know who they are.
Right.
You will not succeed as a journalist when you are created to be a medical doctor. Whatever you put into journalism, you may just be average. You might not be outstanding.
Yes.
But if you discover your purpose, that I am meant to be a medical doctor, and you follow it, nobody, no human being needs to even encourage you. The passion comes by itself.
Yes.
That's one. Two, positive parenting also plays an important role here. Yes. Now, this is common in Africa, where parents will be, oh, I am a professor of medicine. Your mother is a professor of surgery. My father is what's it called? Is a gynecologist. So you don't have a choice than to study medicine.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
I've heard the story of a young man who graduated from medical school, got all the awards, and when they got home, he gave his father and his mother the certificate and said, "This is your certificate. I have done what you want me to do. Now I want to go into accounting." And in the space of 2 years, he became a chartered accountant.
Wow.
And that has been his flair. That has been his strength. But when each time he was in medical school, he was going through hell to pass those exams, because I just have to pass. Now, I have a patient that I had to work with. The father forced him, this time not even in sciences, to study a particular course. I'm sure he's watching, so I don't want to, divulge his information.
Thank you.
His father forced him into a particular course, and he was just failing because the father is in that particular line of, career. But he came to us after a series of psychotherapy, and he went into drugs. And after that, we told the father, can you allow him study the course of his choice? First year, he became the best student in that country.
Whoa.
First year, became the best student. Now, at year one, he was already breaking record of like 40, 30 years record that has been broken.
It's so inspirational.
So this happened when a person has not really identified his calling. Jim said something that he discovered his calling.
Yes.
Every one of us, we are called for a purpose. Led him to study something else, but he identified his calling and he decided to go into music, and that gave back to Afrobeat.
Whoa. I hope you're
now,
not
if his father had insisted that he should go for that medicine, if his father has, forced him to go into medicine, there wouldn't have been Afrobeat by now, or probably somebody will be coming up with Afrobeat now.
True.
And that is affecting the way the world should go. If someone is forced to go into journalism when he's supposed to go into medicine, probably is the guy that should look for the solution of COVID-19, but his father has sent him away from medical school to journalism. Now look at the number of lives that would have died.
Yes.
True.
Yes,
True.
He's very eloquent when we can hear him, because he's describing something that is so true, so fundamentally true. There's no arguing with it. To follow your passion. But my question was about how do you find your passion, and I think there's some trial and error, because you must try something to see if that resonates with you. And if you try something and it does not resonate, that is not your passion. That is not the path for you. So this is what I find.
Well,
how about you, bro? How did you learn the coping mechanisms when you were facing with your dark period of time? How did you come out of it?
Well, actually, like I said earlier on in the last episode, I had a scenario where I was thinking about committing suicide on the major road, and all of a sudden I had a thought to think about my family, my loved ones. I had to stay behind. But when things really get rough, really tough, I love listening. I just listen to music, inspirational music. Like I'm a minister, I'm a pastor, so I love to listen to gospel songs.
Yes,
So
of course.
now, these gospel songs are not just any gospel song. They must be inspirational, like to lift your spirit, remind you that your God is there, remind you that you are alive for a reason, and you need to be alive to get things going, and remind you of life. In life, there are always challenges, no matter what.
No matter
There
what.
are always, no matter what, there are always challenges. But you should remember that it will get to a time you will overcome just challenges. And like I always say when ministering, I tell people that God can never give you a problem that is bigger than you.
That's
Can
right.
never give you a temptation that is bigger than you. No matter how big it looks, just sit down, ask for guidance, which still connects us back to spirituality. Ask for guidance, and honestly, He will surely guide you. You understand? And talking about spirituality, I know it's not as if we're digressing from what we were saying, but that part has an important role to play in every man's life. And some people kind of ignore having a personal relationship with their maker, be it any God. You understand? But my own experience, I've noticed spirituality is above what we see it to be. It's about having to know your creator, having to know why you're alive, your existence of being alive, and your purpose. You understand? All this put together defines who you are.
Yes.
That's how I see spirituality as. But in Africa, actually, we have this mindset of looking for a word to use, but they just have this mindset of spirituality to just be the normal thing, like the traditions that our parents do. Let's just go with it. Like, okay, let me use for example now. Some people call themselves Christians. Meanwhile, they're not Christians.
Right.
A Christian is believed to have to believe that Christ died for him and have a personal relationship with Christ. You understand? But some people just believe going to church because my parents, when I was little, my parents takes me to church. You understand? And I do Bible studies. I've done my communion. I've done water baptism. That makes me a Christian. No, it doesn't make you a Christian. Some also say, oh, my father, I was born into the church. My father was a pastor. My mom was a pastor. So I'm a Christian. No. No. It doesn't connect. Just like Samuel said, his father was a Christian, but decided to try the traditional religion. You can see. So it really doesn't connect. But talking about suicide, do you have an idea the rates it happens in your state, the rate of suicide in your states?
It's going up, yes, especially among the young.
Whoa, do you have an idea the reason why it's happening? Because I don't understand. Okay, I believe there might be some factors causing it, but can you speak a little bit about it?
Well, I use this term facetiously that I was born in the United States and I now live in the divided states, because as a culture we have lost our way, and we had, my parents' generation had a code of conduct, an ethic that they followed, they believed in, and their neighbors believed in it, and everyone was kind of playing by the same rules as you would in chess. And now it is so polarized. There are people on either extreme, whatever you want to call them. They're very extremist in their views. And then there is and they are very loud. They are very outspoken, and they get a lot of media attention. And then there are people in the middle, many more of them, but they are almost voiceless, so they are not heard. So we are bouncing from one extreme to another as a country. And so this is an unsettling experience, and people are growing up with an unsettled, they don't want to go to one extreme or the other, yet they feel that they have no home, no one representing their views, because they might be on this side on one issue and then on this side on the other issue, but there's no place for them. So they feel they don't feel grounded. And it's this grounding experience that I felt. When I was grounded, I was connected. And so people, if they are not grounded, feel disconnected. And they have an enormous amount of pressure on them now that I did not experience and my parents did not experience, to achieve, to go to the right school, to go to the best school, and to achieve the scores in school to get to the best next stage of school. So there's an enormous amount of pressure placed on our youth, and their days are organized in ways that my days were not when I was younger. So we used to play in our neighborhood, and now these kids have organized events. You must be here at this time. You must be here at this time, and you must be doing this at this time. And so their days are very structured and they're pressure filled. So they don't have the coping skills to cope with that pressure. So many of them. So we're talking, Samuel, about the increased suicide rate among our young and the various reasons why we're experiencing this in the United States. And my feeling is that we have lost our way, and we just because we have lost it does not mean we can't find it again. And we just need to find our way, and then the pressure will ease, and the sense of groundedness will return, and the sense of community will return. And so you will not feel like you are alone.
Yeah.
And I believe we can regain that, but we have lost it.
I understand. Well, Samuel, while you were away, I was asking Jim about the suicide rates in the U.S. and especially in his state. He said it's on the increase, and it's majorly on children. And I remember when doing the research about this very topic, I had encounters of kids, 15, 13, that committed suicide in Nigeria, especially in the city of Lagos. And it kept me wondering, what really cause a child in Nigeria? You understand? To be honest, I believe there will be other factors, that can cause it. But remember, when growing up as a child, I never had any, how shall I say, pressure like that or negative thoughts to think of killing myself. I was even aspiring to be like a president of my country. So I have that in my mindset, and it kept me going. So now, can you tell us what do you think could be the reason or the factors causing children to be on the high side of committing suicide, generally in Nigeria and in the world?
Okay, starting with Nigeria, there's so many reasons that can lead people to suicide, and well, let's break it down from the cultural, the spiritual, and then the individual side of it. Now, the cultural side of it, in certain culture in Africa, when a king has misbehaved or has done some things wrong, they tell the king to commit suicide so that another person takes over. Because the issue of royalty, until a king dies, another king cannot be crowned. So they ask such individual to kill themselves so another person can come in. And that's the cultural side to it. And the spiritual side in some religion, I think in China, some people commit suicide if for spiritual reason, if they notice that they've not been able to perform as a leader or as a spiritual authority, then they commit suicide. That's one. And the other part of it, we look at the society. Now, we live in a digital world, and now I want to narrow it down to the young stars. A lot of them are, there's what is called FOMO, the fear of losing out. They don't, the fear of missing out. They don't want to miss out of what's going on. What's the rave? What's the thing of the day? What's going on? What is people doing?
Yeah.
And if I cannot live up to the expectation, I feel bad. I feel unwanted. I feel so. Some people they don't know what next to do. They just feel it's not worth it. Let's end it. So that's one side of it. The other side of it is, what is the social inclusion or exclusion part of it? Now, there's some country where certain group of people are not regarded as worthy of getting the national care that they deserve. You know, the caste system, where they are regarded as they are less important to other people. Now, in a situation like that, you see a person that is striving and is intelligent, you want to go to a government-run school.
Yes.
And you are told you cannot. You want to get a government job after stressing yourself to go through school. You are told you cannot. You decide to start your business, to access fund. You are told you cannot. At the end of the day, this person is bubbling with creative ideas, ways to sort out national crisis. But because of social exclusion, they cannot achieve it. That can also lead to suicide. Now, among children, let's look at between the age of 17 to 13. Now, for children, yes, a lot of, like I've talked about the fear of missing out. We've also talked about the parental neglect. Some children, all they need is just their father's love. All they need is just their mother's emotional covering. But the parents are so carried away with, how do I make money and pay your school fees, provide for you, and they forgot the most important role of a parent, which is love, care, nurturing. They leave that aside. And when children becomes confused as to what they ought to do, then suicide becomes an option that comes on board. Another part of the issue is the issue of rape. A lot of ladies has been raped, especially, let's use the children that have been raped. They just feel, no, who wants to marry me? The labeling, the segregation, the name calling, the embarrassment, the taunting leads a lot of them to committing suicide.
Yes.
And so if you put all this into perspective, there's no one singular factor, but there are many factors that can lead to suicide in children. And also, permit me to say, even in our religious bodies, sometimes some religious leaders make some statement that they don't know is hurting some other people. And if such a person hears information like that, you hear, oh, if my spiritual leader can say this, that means there's no hope for me. Let me just end it. So that can also be part of what leads people to suicide.
When you were talking about the social net pressures, I thought of the samurai who would kill themselves if they broke their code of honor. And so, but also you mentioned the digital world that we live in with, we call them children, but they're teenagers. And this is the term that we use. These people get socially bullied on Facebook, on their social media.
Yes.
And this can be crushing to a young person. And that is one of the other causes, or maybe not a cause, but it is something that leads them to these negative thoughts and this part of not belonging, and my life is already over before it's begun.
Yeah. I'm even thinking of we're going to do a topic on. We're going to do a discussion about stopping bullying online.
Yes. Yes.
Like for kids, so that this thing will really stop, because it's true that it's on the increase, and it's not good for the society. It's not good for the society.
No.
Okay. Now, Samuel, I would like to ask you, what if I suspect someone is just being dramatic? Will I say the person that's, can I put it as one of the symptoms that the person wants to commit suicide?
Sorry?
If I
Sorry, can
see
you take it
somebody,
again?
if I suspect someone
Okay.
is just being dramatic, does that have any link to the person wanting to commit suicide?
For me, like my father will say, it's better to prevent early than to take care of the aftermath.
Prevention.
If you suspect an individual is playing funny, just refer them to therapists or professionals, because there's this proverb in Nigeria that says there's no smoke without fire. There's something that must have triggered something. Now, last week I was talking about warning signs of suicide, and I said one of it is when people start telling you it's even better to commit suicide. You know, it's one thing you need to look out for.
Yes.
A person will not just sincerely. I mean, we say this a lot in Nigeria. Heaven is good, but nobody wants to die. We've heard heaven is good, but nobody wants to die. Now, for a person to just keep saying death is better than living, it's time to check it. There are two things: is either the person really means it, or the person is having an underlying mental health issue. But there's need to check that individual. Then until the professional says this person has a clean bill, then you can go ahead and, you know, let the person be. But for a person to start talking about suicide, there's need to check it. I mean, there's no need to just push it aside or water it down or play it down. Anything can happen.
Yes.
You hear some people, they won't even tell you they want to die and they commit suicide. There's a young lady that somebody sent a story to me. The parents were rich. They have taken her to even where her colleagues have not been, giving her money. Then she committed suicide. What is in her letter, in her dying letter, she said her parents, they've tried all they could, but they forgot, they missed something out, which is the emotional side of life. Whenever she needs to discuss mother to child discussion, father to child discussion, they give her money, take money, go and buy clothes, go and enjoy yourself. But that is not the solution. So at the end of the day, her younger brother was the only person that could relate to her, but because of his age, he couldn't proffer solution. So her uncle came into the scene and started having sex with her.
Whoa.
So anytime she's feeling down, she believes her coping skill is to have sex with her uncle. 3 years down the line, uncle got admission to university in Canada, traveled out of Nigeria. Few weeks later, no uncle to have sex with, and then she drank sniper and died.
Whoa.
So now that's a situation of a person that never told anybody that she was going to die. Talk less of a person that kept acting death is better than life. It's better we watch it out. I mean, check the person.
Samuel, do you believe this? Because I do. I think when I talk to people who are thinking that it's better to just die than to have this pain and suffering that I'm going through, I think that death is not the solution, because death is not necessarily the end of pain and suffering.
True.
Yes. That is never the solution, because there was a time in my life that I was in a tight corner And funny enough, I never thought of suicide, but I thought of, let me just run away to Ghana. If I run away from everybody, if I run away, probably that will be the solution.
Yeah.
Let me just run. Let me just escape for my life.
Yes.
But after a while, I sat down and I self-motivated myself. What are the things that I'm struggling with that is causing the problem? I wrote it down. So what are the likely or possible solutions? I wrote it down. Now imagine if the same thing is the issue of suicide and I'd committed suicide. Today, I will not be here to discuss with you.
Sure.
The life of young people that I've had to work with over the years and they are doing well, I would not have been able to work with them. So death is not the way out. Death is not the solution. Death is just the deception to stop you from achieving your purpose.
That's the excuse.
Yes.
Yes.
I think it's an easy way out, but it's not an out.
Yes.
And that's what I try to tell people, is that this is not, the death is not the final. That's not the end of everything. And you will know pain and suffering. And also, as you said, you will not be able to ease the pain and suffering of others if you are not there.
Yes.
So it's a very, very interesting topic and a great show. I just am so pleased to have been invited. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you. Before we go, just a quick one. Samuel, we're about to wrap up in the next 10-15 minutes, so you have to be fast on this.
Okay.
We know depression has been linked to suicide, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, I need you to please just, for the audience, some of them don't understand what depression is. I'd like you to give me an explanation on depression. Then there's another question. You have two questions. Just be brief on depression. We have two questions to go and we're done.
All right, go ahead.
No, what's depression? Just tell us more about depression.
I am not going to give clinical or theoretical definition.
Thank you.
Depression is a process where a person moves from the lively person to a sad individual that does not see anything that is worth living for or why is still supposed to be happy. Let's just, I want to use it that way, in a way that you see a person who has been lively, who has been successful, but something just happened down the line and he just felt, what's the essence for this happy go life? And then they sit down in that sadness, in that despondency, and start living it. They're not happy, they are sad, there's no passion to continue to do anything. Now, the word passion is not there anymore. The capacity, the ability to move forward and find a lasting solution is lost. The ability to look for solution, even in others that can help, is not there. So that is depression, just moving from, permit me to use, from zenith to zero. So you're at the top, down to the bottom, the rock bottom, and you don't see any reason why you should move back up. That's depression. In summary, in a plain
manner. You find no reason to get out of bed in the morning.
Yes.
Yes, that's it. Mr. Samuel, I wanted to ask you, can someone who is impressed with his status, society, be depressed? But Jim, calling you Jimmy. Jim talked about it, how he was successful, but he still was not satisfied with his status in life, and you agreed with that. So now I just want to ask people who are impressed with everything they have, like success, power, money, and they treat people, they try to dominate people. Are these people depressed, not knowing that they are depressed, and that's the reason why they're trying to dominate people they're higher than? Let's say, for example, the president of Nigeria now, it's kind of higher than we citizens, and it's trying to like dominate a particular minister because it's higher. Do you think it is depression that can cause that?
Well, I'm glad you're talking about your president and not mine.
This simple question will have like 12 answers.
Whoa!
In psychology, but let's just break it down. One of them is personality. Okay. I'm not going to use up all these theories. So one of them is personality. Now, if your personality, there's what is called a narcissistic personality disorder.
Okay.
NPD.
Now, a person, there's nothing you can do to impress a person that is narcissistic in personality. Everything you do is just not good enough. So that is a disorder on its own. Now, to some people, they check before they look down on people. Why should I do that? A conscious analysis of action before they go into it. I think I'm rich, I have money, so what else do I need to do? Now, it has nothing to do with the success. It has more to do with the individual. Success is not lousy. Success is not enforcing. Success does not look down on people. In fact, success builds other people to become successful, because there's this common saying, at the top, at the ladder of success, there are few people there. So success wants to bring other people, so it won't be lonely. So it's more of individual person. Now, psychiatric disorder, emotional imbalance is part of it. Sometimes it has to do with the background growing up. I know someone who, each time the sister-in-law goes to his house, he wants her to work as a house help in their house. And the sister-in-law once said, "I am not your house help." He said, "But when I was growing up, the younger is always slaving for the older." Now, that is so that's the way he sees anybody that is younger should slave whenever they come to my house, especially now that I'm rich. So that's a way of life for him. That's his background. And he just felt that's the way it should be. Another thing is culture. There are some people's culture. Now, I'm not talking about the culture of the traditional culture. I'm talking about the evolved culture. Now, some people, when they get to power, what they tell you is when you get to power, that's the time to kill your enemies or your perceived enemy. Yes. When you get to power, prove to people that those who told you that you cannot make it, finish them. So it has to do more with that and not, depression. It's not about depression. A depressed person does not even have the will to frustrate other people. A depressed person is only trying to, there are different stages anyway. A depressed person just wants others to see me that I'm surviving. Like Jim told us, a lot of people see him outside and said, "You are successful," but internally he was a mess. Now, a person that is internally messed up will not have the energy to oppress others. But a person who has psychiatric disorder or mental health disorder can, suppress other people. So it's not a depression. Because of time.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay, so that, Jimmy, you want to say anything?
No, I just was sitting here taking that in and admiring the brevity of the illumination that I was experiencing, because I have thought of these people they must be depressed because they look so miserable sometimes. But it's because they only can feel vibrant when they're in this constant adulation. When people are around them saying how great they are, then they feel good. And when they're feeling criticized, they seem miserable. So, but this is what it's better to say, rather than depressed, that there is a mental illness that requires that constant adulation. So that was a very good breakdown for me to understand this.
So, well, we're about to wrap up for today. Just one more question. Do you think the victim, who the person in power or the person that is hired that dominates, do you think they can be depressed with this?
Sure do. When a person is dominated, it's called the act of being conquered. When a person is emotionally conquered, the person starts feeling resentful towards the one that conquers him. Because at this time, you are helpless, you are hopeless, you are powerless.
Yes.
You don't have what it takes to deliver yourself. There's a book written, it says Pedagogy of the Oppressed. The reasoning of the oppressed. Now, a person is already oppressed, depressed, you know, he doesn't have power, so he's down, he's feeling sad, he's there inside that mud of depression, and there's no hope. Only few people can muster the energy to look for a way out and not want to go vengeful after they are out of that situation. Because we've had a lot of people in power who will just come because they have the power and want to step on people's rights. You don't even, as far as they are concerned, you don't have a right, you don't exist where they are. You know? And in a situation like that, a person has tried all he or she could to get out of this situation. Certainly, such individual can move to enter the stage of depression. That is true. It can happen. But you still have some people, they have the energy. There's a way God has given them an inner power or strength to be able to still forge ahead and find solution to their life. And you know, we have a lot of people in the world that we can use as example, but so many people do not have that strength. My wife always says something, you know, she's your sister, and she always says something that I don't like watching Igbo movies because there's something that is common among them.
True.
It's like,
true.
Pity me, I'm suffering. It's usually the summary of all these movies. Yes, true. Pity me, I'm suffering. Now, when a person have this mindset of pity me, I'm suffering, then it is hard to easily get out of depression. But if a person is in depression and somewhere inside you still are hopeful that this is just a phase, this is just a season, it is easier for people like that to step out early.
Well, I have one last remark. You know, Samuel, I think Moses could have just gone to Ghana too, and he did not, because he wanted to get his people out. So you know, you can want to run away from your problems, but we call that a geographical. You're just changing where you are, because wherever you go, there you are. So you want to change yourself.
True. Well, I want to say a big thank you to everyone. Jim,
thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the honor to accept this
invitation. I just had to have one cup.
Samuel, thank you as well. I know you had a tight schedule, but you had to just cancel one just to make this show awesome. I want to thank my executive producer, Mr. Akid. I know he'll be coming up soon. My closer 101 is, don't forget, don't be you. If you are perfect, be the first to cast a stone. Judge not, and you shall not be judged. Please, I ask the audience to please send in their questions, experiences that they want us to discuss, and we promise not to disclose their identity. You can send an email to mindcloset101@gmail.com, Facebook page, mindcloset101. You can follow me on Instagram and on Twitter, and also on Facebook, bro, watching Emelu. Address it to the producer of the show. And we're wrapping up the show with today's African proverb. Thank God it's Friday. So
yes.
I know most of us will be happy that it's Friday. We're going to have a wonderful weekend. But before we start off the weekend, let's also have this in mind. Sugarcane is sweet at its joint. And it means good and sweet things of life may appear difficult to achieve, but in the end, it is worth it. So, please, audience, my viewers, I would love you to always stick to IBM TV. Don't touch that dial, don't change it, don't turn it over. Just keep watching more exciting and educative programs. Like on Monday, we have Economic Monday and radio talk show. On Tuesday, we have World News COVID-19, Celebrity Tuesday, and Jim's program, which is Chess Without Borders.
Thank you.
On Wednesday, we have Startup Wednesdays and Weed Wednesday. I'll try and watch Jeff's program very soon to see how it goes. I love that Weed Wednesday. On Thursdays, it's Podcast Thursdays, and I think we have medical as well. Then Friday is financial. Friday is Financial Friday and Med Friday. And I think Met Friday is after the show, so please still stick around. Saturday is Spiritual Saturday, Chess Stars with Sasha. If you want to learn how to play more chess, you want to learn moves of chess, stick to that show. It's on Saturday. And we have DJ Live music. Yeah. So you want to listen to live music? Please. Stick around and watch it on Saturday. And we have Starry Saturday, yes. Then on Sunday is Super Sunday and the Alexandra May Cafe. So please continue to watch our programs and also comment, share our videos, and invite someone to join you while watching. So God bless. Before we go, Jim, please, can you give us your social media handles where people can meet you?
Oh, you can write email to me at Jim Eid, my name, at eidfoundation.org.
Say it again, please. Sorry.
Okay, Jim Eid, my name, at eidfoundation, all one word, .org, O-R-G.
Okay. Are you on podcast? Sorry,
I don't have a podcast, no, but my IBM TV show is on Tuesdays. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Facebook.
Thank you for plugging
Instagram.
that. Instagram, yes, I am on Instagram as Jim Eid, yes.
And on Facebook.
And both on Jim Eid and the Eid Foundation. They're two accounts. So if you want to talk to me about the Eid Foundation, use that on Instagram and Facebook. Or me personally, it's Jim Eid on both.
Okay, Samuel, where can people meet you on your social media handles?
Okay, on Facebook is OLU_Sam K.
You're going to say it again.
OLU_SAMKAY.
Okay. On Instagram.
And on Instagram, the same. So
Twitter.
on Facebook is slightly long. Olusegun Samuel Kayode is the Facebook, but you can get that from my Twitter and Facebook. So
okay. For me, our Facebook page still remains Mind Closet 101. My social handles is at Brownwatching Emelu, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can also follow us on IBM TV Facebook, please. Viewers, follow us. Yeah. And get to see most of our programs.
Yes.
And you can continue to join us live. So God bless everyone. And I wish you a wonderful weekend. God bless you till we meet on another exciting time. Same station, same time. Remain blessed. I remain your host, Watching them. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.